Swedish meatballs made with homemade mushroom soup. I'm going to be using ground bison, but you can use any type of ground meat that you so choose. In a hurry? Buy frozen meatballs already made for you. Let's get started. I have a half an onion, liquid smoke, purely optional, ghee, again optional, but that's what I like to saute my onion and garlic with. 1 tablespoon minced garlic. This is a chicken egg at room temp, salt and pepper, and these are my sourdough breadcrumbs. Using about a 1/4 cup, but any kind of breadcrumbs will do. For about a half an onion, I'll use maybe a half a tablespoon of ghee. I have the temperature about 300. You can fry these with oil or bake in the oven. This is so easy to make. I already have the egg noodles cooked from the other night when I made tuna noodle casserole, the same night that I made the homemade cream and mushroom soup. I'll leave the link up there. I'm going to lightly saute these. I'm not trying to make them brown. I'm only going to do it for about a minute, and then I'm going to put the lid on and let them steam. This is the bison I get from Costco. This is my eggshell from this morning. I save my eggs. If you're new to my channel, I will leave the link to the many things you can do with eggs. This is my chicken egg. It sits on the counter. I do not refrigerate my eggs. I only wash them right before I use them. So this is washed and dried. I always crack my eggs into another vessel. Salt and pepper to taste. I like a lot of pepper. This is fine sea salt. You can use what you want. A splash of liquid smoke. If I don't have liquid smoke, I'll use a little bit of soy sauce. Purely optional. Now, I keep one hand free for the breadcrumbs while I'm mixing this. I try to get a medium-sized egg. I do not like a lot of eggs. If anything, I would like a smaller egg. Look at that beautiful yellow. My girls are so special. You do not want to overhandle any kind of ground beef because it can make it very tough. The least you handle it with meatballs, meatloaf, whatever you're making, the more tender it will be. Now I have added my raw onions and garlic right in this and just fried them up that way. I'm going to be adding those right now. You can do it either way. You don't have to fry them. It just speeds it up a little bit. Optional. You do not have to do it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I don't like to do things the same way all the time. Still have the one clean hand, as long as I don't see any yolk or eggs. You can make mother-in-law meatballs. My mother-in-law makes the big ones. This is more than enough size what I'm looking for. I'm going to turn it up to about 250 for right now. I don't like them super sealed brown. I'd rather kind of almost steam them to the point of frying them like a hamburger. So my clean hand is still on the squeezing handle. If I already didn't pre-saute the onions, I'd be adding about 1 tablespoon of ghee right now because bison is super lean. Being empty nesters, this is 2 full meals and maybe a small lunch for myself. This is plenty. I'm going to finish making the meatballs. I'm going to turn the heat down 200 degrees and I'm going to let it simmer for about 5-10 minutes before I turn them. It's been about 5 minutes. And when they start bleeding a little bit, that's when you know it's time to turn them. When it doesn't fight you either, and they're not sticking. I haven't added any water. I cranked it up to about 230. I'm gonna put the lid back on, give it another 5 minutes or so. Let the water drip down in there. I prefer to steam them than to bake them. Like I said, I don't want them cooked like a hamburger where they're dry. I'd rather have their moisture of the blood and the juices and the onion juices steam them. That's how I prefer to do it. It's been another 5 minutes, still around 220. Which are perfect. I don't need them any more browner than they are. I'm gonna push this to the side so I can talk about this. This is the mushroom condensed soup that I made the other day. And as you see, it is sealed. There we go. Just like a regular canning jar because it was put in there very hot. I also have some filtered water. It is very thick. I'm going to use about half the jar. I'm going to put it in different spots. As you can see, it's nice, thick, condensed. I'm going to let this simmer so the meatballs will absorb the mushroom sauce. And this half of the jar is going to go for beef stroganoff. I am not going to add any water right now. I'm just going to give this a stir. And again, you want the temperature low. You don't want to burn or cook. This is already cooked. We're just trying to infuse the meatballs. So that's good enough for now. I'm not going to add any water. I'm not going to stir it down. As you can see, it's like gelatinous. I'm going to let this melt very slowly. Put the lid on it. I'm going to let this be on like 220, 210. I'll stir it every 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm going to let this go for probably 10 minutes at least. And then we'll be back. It's been almost 5 minutes. As you can see, it's breaking down nicely. Basically, it's cooked. I did not add any liquid. I mean, sometimes the condensed soup is very thick. Other times it's not. I'm going to leave it like this. Now, when the children were little, I would push this aside, add the cooked egg noodles, and then mix this all as one and let the egg noodles get infused with the flavor. But since this is going to be 2 meals, if I were to do that, it would get very, very dry, and we just don't like to do that. I have an instant on-demand hot water. I'll put the egg noodles into a container. Cover them with the boiling water. Heat this up on low. Mix them together, and it's not dried out, and it's super moist just as it is today. Less than 3 minutes in the microwave. My egg noodles are hot, but if you were a family of 4, just say, and you were going to eat this all at once, I would put the egg noodles in there if you're going to eat it all tonight. But otherwise, I'll serve it on top of the egg noodles, scoop by scoop. Now the second day, I could add the egg noodles right to it and just heat it all up at once. But that's it. I'm gonna let this simmer 15 minutes. So I add either sour cream or homemade yogurt the last 5 minutes. You do not have to do that, but when I think of Swedish meatballs, that's what I think of. So I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons. You don't have to add this, but I feel that's what makes Swedish meatballs Swedish meatballs. Or yogurt. I'll use whatever I have on hand. I don't want this to cook the whole time. I don't know, there's just something about heating it up so much, to me it gets curdled. So I'm just gonna let this simmer, probably about 195, less than 200 degrees for 5 minutes. Pour it over egg noodles, and then I will show you what it looks like. So this is meal number 2 with 1 batch so far of mushroom soup, homemade mushroom soup. And this is my 4 cups of egg noodles that I cooked, and then I store them in the jar until it's time for dinner. And we are back. The egg noodles have been heated up. I didn't stir this a lot because I actually like where I can see bites of sour cream. I'll add some homemade buttermilk biscuits. Leave the link to that below too. And then you can just mix it up on your plate so every bite get infused. Super tender, super moist. I will put a small jar of sauce on the table, and if we need just a tablespoon or more while we're eating, we can add it. Look how beautiful that is. It came out really great. I just want to let you know, if you don't like smoke flavor, even just that little bit, it really infused in the meat. I like it. I have also made the bison meatballs and put them in my smoker. That's a game changer for me. It makes it totally different than the old-fashioned beef stroganoff that Mama used to make. You can make the meatballs just like we did and add marinara instead of the mushroom soup. During the winter, I love to make homemade egg noodles and have Swedish meatballs with them. What a treat. Did you know I have a blog with learning, recipes, ideas, DIY, gardening? Check it out. I'll leave the link above and below. Please subscribe, hit that bell, all notification, and see you on the next video.